A dangerous line of flooding rains is coming through Ingram and Hunt, Texas right now. An unwelcome turn of events, now the second day in a row where flooding rains have stopped all search and recovery operations. You can see the police checkpoint here. There is no traffic getting through, and in fact what they're doing is turning vehicles around. We're also seeing cars that could get through coming out of Ingram and Hunt. Cars down that way, and people who are down there are being urged to evacuate right now because of 4 to 7 inches of additional rain coming through this area really in the next hour or so. It's a very, very intense line of storms coming through, and it only is hampering the search and recovery operations that are going on by hundreds of volunteers and, of course, police, fire, rescue. We have seen additional water resources brought in. Water rescue boats and teams are pre-positioning here at the checkpoint. That way, when the rain comes and the flooding happens again, and they believe that it will, the resources are already here. You can see a few more cars coming out right now as people are working to evacuate that area. But still, 2 days in a row now, a turn of events that is not helping search and recovery operations as rain is shutting down the entire operation and flooding already flooded areas once more. I'm Justin Michaels, the Weather Channel.
Y'all, we just got done doing a little bit of cleanup. We were halted because there was an evacuation order for Round Mountain and Sandy Creek. So we're getting to higher ground, and then we're going to resume working, hopefully. Pray that these floodwaters don't come like they're saying they're coming. Continue to pray for these people. I will be gathering GoFundMes and getting a bunch of stories and interviews from these people. Continue to open your hearts to help these people. They need it more than ever right now. Love you guys.
Hey guys, coming to you from Hunt, Texas, just outside of Kerrville. Hunt, Kerrville, Comfort, Center Point, Ingram, all towns along the Guadalupe River that were devastated with the flood over July 4th. There's a lot of similarities to North Carolina here. Devastation, entire areas, the water elevation was huge. With that being said, the loss of life has been absolutely devastating. We've had a team on the ground since Thursday and Friday, and I've been on the ground since Saturday evening. Over the last 36 hours, we have focused on gaining inroads and partnerships with local authorities, the EOC, as well as other nonprofits in the area. Currently, what we're dealing with, as you guys know, is yesterday the Guadalupe reached flood stages again. Last night, we had another front push in and just hang over Kerrville and Hunt, and again, the Guadalupe River is at flood stage. There was also a large flood that took place yesterday in San Saba, and that was a flash flood that reached pretty record proportions. So what we're doing today is we're on standby for potentially providing swiftwater rescue assistance, and we're also working with, guess what, who we found? We found former and current Navy SEALs and former and current Green Berets on the ground that are doing a hell of a job. They have been getting shit done. They're representing the special operations community in a phenomenal way, and they are the only true dive asset that's on the ground right now with the ability to dive on submerged vehicles. All of the major first responder agencies, they're not diving yet because the water levels are still too high, and they're primarily focused on debris searches and ground searches. So when you're not the primary effort like we were in North Carolina, you become an amazing and phenomenal supporting effort, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to focus on supporting with research and recovery efforts. We're going to focus on supporting with potential swiftwater rescue efforts while the floodwaters come back up again. But our primary focus more than anything else is going to become facilitators and force multipliers. Our job now is to become the best supporting effort on the ground to provide the other nonprofits that are in the area and organizations like this small group of soft personnel that are not an official organization with whatever they need to create success on the ground and to continue to push the effort forward. This isn't going to be a short effort. I suspect that we're going to be on the ground for probably 3 weeks, maybe longer. It's not going to be the sort of effort that was required in Western North Carolina, that's for sure. But when it comes to what we're doing here, we're here. We're here to help. We're here to support, and we're going to do whatever we can to make certain that we see some level of success in the operation, regardless of what that looks like. Whether that's being the best supporting effort through other NGOs, if that's facilitating support for guys that are currently have the ability to dive, or if that's just doing search and recovery and providing real-time intelligence back to the EOC and back to the incident commanders. That's what we're going to do. Thank you for your support. If you'd like to support, please click the link in the post. We could use all the support that we can get right now so that we can maintain operations on the ground here while also continuing operations in Western North Carolina to rebuild homes. God bless you guys, and thank you for being a supporter of Savage Freedom's relief operations. We appreciate you.
It's July 12th, and we're right out here in Center Point today doing the Texas floods. And you can see behind me, I'm standing on top of this excavator. You see behind me all the debris that we pulled out of this centralized point down here in the river. And we found a young female yesterday in all this debris, and we still have a lot more to go. But what I came here to talk about was an update on situations. There is so many good people down here that are working and trying to find the missing, and there's so many donations and resources. People are bringing food by, fuel by. Somebody had mentioned to us that in social media, they were saying that people aren't being giving and courteous, and that's not the case. I mean, there's people are stopping their whole lives to come help. And we're down here, just like everybody else is, trying to help. And it takes an army of resources to get this done. But a little girl, when I was in Hunt, Texas yesterday, gave me this. And she said the yellow bead, this one right here, means hope. And we look at all this disaster and we're going, well, there's no way anybody could be still alive. And I think, yeah, you're right. Anybody that's still in this river that happened from the July 4th flood is no longer with us. But we can give their families hope to find them. We can give the communities hope to rebuild. And I think, and most importantly, we can give the ease to the communities that people still care and that we're here to help. So at the end of the day, these families' lives will always be different. They'll never be what they were. And we can't change that. But as Americans, Texans, come to this site, we're here to make it better. So keep on praying. People are really appreciative of it, and it's helping. And we're finding these lost loved ones. We're going to bring them home. God bless. And we'll keep you tuned.
You're not supposed to say this, but these people in Texas helped create the disaster that killed them. They voted down safety measures, they rejected federal funding, and now they want silence, sympathy, and your donations. But I'm not going to let that happen. We're going to talk about what really happened here, why these people are responsible. This wasn't just a flood, and it damn sure wasn't just a natural disaster. This was a man-made tragedy that was the result of decades of political cowardice, ignored warnings, and deliberate inaction from the people who had the power to prevent it and chose not to. Kerr County had everything they needed to prevent this. They had the warnings. They applied for grants. They received federal funding, and they chose to spend it on anything other than a warning system for the river. With COVID recovery funds in hand, they instead bought the sheriff's department new radios and gave the sheriff's department raises instead of putting other people first and building the system they knew for decades they needed. They said using this money that came from Democrats was against their values and would result in them selling out if they used it for a warning system. In fact, some Kerr County residents requested that the county give the money back to the federal government because they didn't want any money from any Democrat. Let that sink in. They chose an ideology over an infrastructure that would save people's lives, and they chose politics over people. In fact, Dick Eastland, one of the owners of Camp Mystic that I've been very critical of, lobbied after a 1987 flood that killed 10 campers in a separate camp to have a warning system built, and it was built. And then the River Authority dismantled it in 1999, saying it was outdated and no longer needed. Even with all the warnings in place, the River Authority and the local county did nothing to replace the system, and even Dick Eastland continued to lobby for a new system, but he wasn't willing to put up any of his money. But he was continuously held down by the system above him and their inaction. And it's true, he was appointed to the River Authority Board in 2022, but that was too late to do anything at that point. The dies had already been cast, and they couldn't get this built in time. And let that sink in. Even somebody who knew the risks, who lobbied for it, who was considered royalty in that area, could not convince the community to fix this known issue that would cost hundreds their lives. And then the storm came, and the National Weather Service issued all of their warnings. In fact, they had the warnings out at the right time. But Kerr County officials waited 90 minutes to push the warning system out in their outdated alert system that they had refused to fund. No alerts, no sirens, no phone calls, no evacuations until it was too late. And now the same leaders who failed, the same people that are supposed to protect people, are instead pointing fingers and doing everything to dodge responsibility and accountability for their actions. They're pointing fingers. They're blaming the weather. They're blaming the river. In some cases, they're blaming the victims, all while saying, now's not the time to talk about this. And some of them aren't even doing that much. They're outsourcing the responsibility to God, saying that this was God's plan. It was His will. He'll comfort us. God knows everything. But let's be clear, God didn't cut FEMA funding, God didn't reject federal funding, and God didn't wait 90 minutes to send an alert. People did that, leaders did that, and the voters allowed that. This wasn't divine will. This wasn't Mother Nature. This was a leadership failure. No amount of prayer, no amount of divine intervention is going to fix what cowardice and neglect destroyed. And they continue to say, now is not the time. And they said that after Columbine. They said that after Parkland. They said that after Sandy Hook. They said that after the Pulse nightclub. They said that after Las Vegas. They say that after every single preventable death. So I'll ask now, what they never want to answer. If not now, when? When do we talk about why nobody warned the public? Why did they choose sheriffs over sirens? Why did they cut funding, blocked aid, and left their own communities defenseless? If not now, when do we hold them accountable? This wasn't a natural disaster. This was a leadership failure, and we know exactly who failed.
The New York Times is reporting that thousands of calls from flood victims to FEMA call centers went unanswered in the middle of this ongoing disaster because you didn't renew contracts to keep call center staff in place until nearly 1 week after the floods. Why did it take so long to extend those contracts?
It's just false. Those contracts were in place.
It didn't take 5 days?
No employees were off of work. Every one of them was answering calls. So false reporting, fake news, and it's discouraging.
To be very clear, on July 7th, 15.9% of calls were answered. I mean, does that concern you that only 15% of calls were answered? These are people in a desperate state. FEMA, often the first call that they make, only 15% were answered on July 7th, several days after the floods.
These contracts were in place, and those people were in those call centers, and they were picking up the phone and answering.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! about going under.
Breaking right now out of South Central Texas, the Frio River is flooding fast, and we're talking major flood stage. From Leakey to Concan and stretching down to Uvalde County, the river is rising faster than forecasted. In some places, water levels have already doubled overnight, and they're not done climbing. According to the National Weather Service, the Frio is expected to crest at nearly 19 feet in Uvalde this evening. That's deep into major flood territory, enough to cut off roads, sweep away vehicles, and threaten homes near the riverbanks. Several low water crossings are already impassable. RV parks and campgrounds in the region are being cleared out as emergency crews warn of fast-moving water and downed trees along the river. This isn't your typical river rise. Locals are calling it one of the most dangerous Frio surges in years, and if you're in the area, do not wait. Evacuate now. It seems as though Central Texas cannot get themselves out of the flood zone. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you follow for more. I will give you an update in a few hours on this critical situation.
As a pastor who lives in the Texas Hill Country, I want to take this opportunity to tell those who are turning the flash flooding disaster that we have experienced in our community into a political thing, shut up and have some common decency. Let me tell you something. This is not a time. People are going online. People are going on social media. People are coming on national news and saying that this tragedy happened because Donald Trump made budget cuts. Let me say this first of all. I am not here to apologize for Donald Trump. I'm not here to take up for Donald Trump. I'm here to say that this is not the time for that. People have lost loved ones. Children are missing. Children have died. And first responders are out wading through the muck and the mire and the debris, looking for bodies, looking for survivors. And some morons want to get on social media or go on national media and try to make this into a political thing. This is not the time for that. I've learned as a pastor, let me tell you something. I've learned as a pastor, whenever someone experiences a trauma, a death in the family, or some other event like that, that's not generally the time to become theological and, God forbid, political. It's time to be present. It's time to imagine, what would I feel like if I had lost my child? What would I feel like if my child were missing? What would I feel like if my husband, my wife, my loved one, my coworker, my neighbor had perished in the disaster? This is disgusting and it's terrible. I've been reading through the book of Job and the calamities that happened to Job, the loss of his family, his children, the loss of his health, the loss of his worldly goods. His friends come along and for 7 days they're quiet, and they should have stayed quiet. But then the next several chapters, we read them basically explaining to Job that what's happened to you is your fault. You've done something wrong. Their theology was very simplistic. Good things happen to good people. Bad things happen to bad people. You've done something bad because bad things are happening to you. But Job hadn't done anything wrong. You know, we live in a fallen world. We live in a world that is under the curse because of sin, when sin entered the world. And sometimes tragedies happen. Sometimes innocent people suffer. I, in the long grand scheme of things, I just trusted to the sovereignty of God. Let me tell you something. This is a time for people to be present, to comfort, and to help. And I just pray for the people that want to use this for political reasons, that want to spin it into a political thing. I hope that you're never in this position. And I'll promise you, we will not act that way. We won't act that way towards you.
Breaking news. Texas governor apologizes for controversial comment. The governor of Texas has publicly apologized after sparking outrage with a shocking statement. If God were an illegal immigrant, we'd deport him too. He admits the comment was made in anger, and now he believes the state is facing the consequences. As Texas battles a devastating flood that has claimed lives and destroyed homes, the governor says he feels it's a sign of divine punishment. I regret my words deeply, he said. I've seen the destruction firsthand. I know I was wrong. In a heartfelt message, he asked for forgiveness. From God, from the Latino community, and from all who were hurt. He emphasized the importance of immigrants in building the strength of the United States and promised change going forward. Texas needs help. We need unity, and we're opening our doors to those who seek a better life, he said. Everyone makes mistakes. but true leadership means owning them and making things right. Follow us for more updates and let us know your thoughts in the comments.